So, if you or someone you love has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, you know it's more than just a medical term, right? You're told your blood sugar is high, maybe you get a prescription, and then you're kind of left with a whole lot of questions. In this explainer, we're going to go way beyond that initial diagnosis to really understand what's happening inside your body and why that knowledge, well, it's your most powerful tool.
This quote, it just gets right to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? A simple diagnosis just doesn't tell the whole story. To truly take control of your health, you have to understand what you're up against. This isn't just about a number on a lab report. It's a condition that has a history in your body, and more importantly, a future that you can absolutely influence. Okay, let's start with two of the most important words you're ever going to hear from a doctor: chronic and progressive. They might just sound like medical jargon, but believe me, understanding them is the absolute key to understanding this entire journey. Let's just break this down. Chronic means this thing didn't just pop up overnight. Nope, it's likely been developing quietly for years and years. But progressive, that's the one you really need to hear. It means this condition has momentum. It is actively getting worse over time unless you step in and do something about it.
So how do they even know? Well, it's usually with a fasting blood sugar test. And these numbers, they draw some very clear lines in the sand. If you're below 100, you're in the clear. That's normal. From 100 to 125, you're in that warning zone called pre-diabetes. But once you hit 126 or higher, that's the official diagnosis. It's really that clear-cut.
Now, you've probably heard there are different types of diabetes, but we are zeroing in on type 2. And why is that? Well, because it accounts for a staggering 90% of all cases. This is the one that affects the vast majority of people.
All right, so while this thing is developing slowly, your body is not silent. It does send out warning signals. Let's talk about the common symptoms of high blood sugar that you absolutely positively should not ignore.
These are the classics: feeling constantly thirsty or hungry, like all the time. A deep, bone-weary tiredness that just never seems to go away. Noticing your vision is a little hazy, a little blurry. Or maybe that a tiny little cut takes forever to heal. These are all your body's way of screaming, "Hey, my sugar levels are too high."
And the signs can get even more specific. For men, this might show up as a lower sex drive or even erectile dysfunction. And for women, it often appears as those really frustrating recurrent yeast infections or UTIs. Why? Well, because that high sugar environment in your body is basically the perfect breeding ground for bacteria and yeast.
Okay, now we need to get serious. This is the most important part of this whole conversation. The reason a diabetes diagnosis is so critical is because high blood sugar doesn't just mess with one part of your body. No, it's a systemic, head-to-toe threat. Let's talk about the long-term complications.
Let's start at the top, with the brain. A lot of us connect stroke with high blood pressure, but having diabetes significantly cranks up your risk too. See, those high sugar levels are just brutal on your blood vessels, damaging them all over your body, including the super important ones that lead to your brain. And the impact on the brain, it doesn't stop there. What might start as, just a little forgetfulness can over time progress to severe dementia, like Alzheimer's. We're talking about getting to a point where you might not recognize the people you've loved your entire life. Remember that early symptom, the hazy vision we talked about? Well, this is where it can lead. The tiny, delicate blood vessels in your eyes are extremely vulnerable to high sugar, and over time, that damage can cause irreversible vision loss and, yes, eventually, complete blindness.
Okay, moving on down the body, we get to the kidneys. Their whole job is to filter all the junk, the toxins, out of your blood. High sugar just wrecks those filters, and when they fail, those toxins build up. At that point, you literally need a machine to do the work your kidneys just can't do anymore.
And that process is called dialysis. And look, it's an amazing medical technology, but it is incredibly demanding. Your blood is literally taken out of your body, run through a machine to be cleaned, and then pumped back in. And this is not a temporary fix. For most people, dialysis means being hooked up to that machine for hours at a time, multiple days a week, for the rest of their lives. It just fundamentally changes your reality.
Finally, let's talk about the feet. High sugar causes nerve damage, which means you can lose all the feeling in your toes and your feet. Now, combine that with the slow healing wounds we mentioned earlier, and you have a total disaster just waiting to happen. A little cut you don't even feel can get infected, it can rot, and that can lead to amputation. Now listen up, because this is the most crucial point of all. It is so easy to think, oh, I'm taking my medication, I'm safe. But that is a really dangerous assumption. So many people who experience these devastating complications, the strokes, the blindness, the amputations, they are on their prescribed medication. The drugs can help manage blood sugar for sure, but they often do not stop the disease from progressing.
With all of these really scary physical threats, it's so easy to overlook what a diagnosis like this does to a person's mind, to their spirit. We just don't talk about it enough, but getting this news, it can be a deeply traumatic event.
A diagnosis isn't just a piece of information, it's an injury. It can trigger profound depression, a deep sense of grief. It's that moment you're told you have a condition that is designed to get worse over time. If you felt this way, you are not weak. It is a completely normal reaction to trauma.
And that trauma, it's magnified by 1,000 if you've seen this disease up close and personal. If you watched a parent or a sibling or a good friend suffer through these complications, hearing that same diagnosis for yourself can feel like a death sentence. All those awful, painful memories just come rushing right back.
So after hearing all of this, I know it can feel completely overwhelming, but this right here, this is the point where knowledge turns into power. To fight back against a progressive disease, you need a powerful, deeply personal reason. You've got to find your why.
And what could that why be? I mean, maybe it's just that you hate the idea of relying on pills forever. Maybe you don't want your family to see you as a burden, someone they have to take care of. Or maybe you just dream of traveling and playing with your grandkids and living a life that is just full of energy. This is about so much more than just surviving. This is about thriving.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to really think about. Knowing what you know now about the chronic nature of this disease, its progressive path, all of its potential complications, what is your reason to fight? What does a full, vibrant, healthy life look like to you? Because that answer, that is the most powerful tool you will ever have.